Obesity in Children. What is it and why is it happening? Welcome everyone to My Weight World TV. I'm Dr. Brenda MD, and today we have our registered dietitian Janice Baker in the studio to enlighten us on this epidemic. Welcome, Janice.
It's great to be here, Brenda.
Can we start out with defining what is the definition of obesity in children?
Sure. Well, first of all, we know that defining obesity in adults means a BMI above 25 is overweight, above 30 is obese. In kids, it's a little different because of their growth needs, and all kids are a little bit different because a lot of times the way their weight is measured is by growth charts where pediatricians plot their growth trends. So when we're looking at obesity in kids, it's not always just one point in time. It's their percentiles according to their growth in terms of their height and weight. So that's why it's very important for kids to be measured and checked regularly by their pediatricians to see not only what they are at one point in time, but what their growth trends are like.
Okay, so you can't just calculate the BMI for a child.
You know, you can. There's ways to do it, but again, things can change very quickly because of the rate at which kids grow. So, you know, again, we go by percentiles. Typically above 90 percentile is in the overweight category. Above 95th percentile for weight is going towards obese. But this has to be carefully looked at by a child's doctor in the context of the other growth.
Because we measure the head circumference,
the head
weight,
circumference,
everything.
the height, and again, it's a trend on the growth chart that's looked at too.
So not necessarily 90th percentile is like, oh, my kid's great. You know, it's not necessarily good, but it might be good depending on what your doctor says.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so if your doctor says your child is overweight or obese, then that's not something you'll look up on the internet and find a scale.
No, you really do want to find out from your doctor, what does this mean for my child in the context of everything else that's going on.
So how common is obesity or being overweight in children?
Well, it's becoming very, very common. And as a registered dietitian, just in my practice, I used to hardly ever see kids. Now, at least 50% of my new patients are children these days, and kids under the age of 10 who do have obesity. And so I'm working with that directly every day, and it's common. And the problem is obesity and overweight in kids is going to hit us hard in the coming years because these are going to be very sick adults because of the incidence of high blood pressure, heart disease, kidney disease, all the things that come from it. So it's a very difficult and concerning problem.
Okay. How about the ethnicities? Is it more common in different ethnicities?
You know, it is much because of cultural aspects of the ethnicities and where they're living in context of fast food restaurants. We see more obesity in Hispanic, sometimes Black ethnicity, but it happens all across the board. I see a lot of Caucasian children and children of other races and ethnicities with obesity occurring as well.
And then you said this obesity then does persist generally into adulthood.
It does. It doesn't mean it can't be helped, though. And typically, obesity in kids, it's a family problem. It's not just the child. It has to do with what's going on at home, what's going on at school, the surroundings. But that can be addressed very successfully.
So how are these children becoming obese?
Well, the big thing is that kids are in front of screens a lot. I'm very passionate about that. Kids used to be outside playing all the time. But these days, kids are inside, they're playing video games, they're watching hours of television, they're inactive. And what we know is for kids to be healthy, they have to move every day. Also, PE, recess is being cut down in schools. So kids are in the classroom more, sitting more. And you're not only seeing a lot more weight problems, you're seeing other behavioral problems. Kids need to move and blow off steam. They do much better that way. And because their bodies are, you know, smaller than adults, that small change in their energy expenditure really hits them hard. So the big thing is the activity. Also, of course, the food. When you're giving kids more fast food, more portions, and they're eating in front of the screens, again, the relatively small increase in their calorie intake is going to add up very, very quickly. So, you know, sometimes this evens out a little bit as they go through growth spurts, but not enough to overcome all these environmental concerns.
Okay, so increased activity,
Decrease screen time.
Decrease.
That's right.
So TV does relate to childhood obesity.
Very
Have they done
much.
studies on that?
You know, they have. And one fascinating study that I read is that when kids are watching TV, their rate of metabolism, or how many calories they burn, is actually lower than when they're sleeping. So, you know, because when you're sleeping, actually your body's doing a lot of hard work. It's repairing things. It's really helping your body, you know, get itself ready for the day. When you're watching TV, you're pretty immobile. You're very sedentary. And again, the longer you watch TV, the more used to you are being sedentary. When you're sedentary for that much time, you start to waste away your muscles because they're not being used. Right. So additionally, kids are burning less calories all day long because they don't have muscle mass. That increases your metabolism.
Right. And the more muscle mass, the more calories you burn when you're doing nothing.
All the time. Exactly. So it's not just that one point in time when they're watching TV. This relates to their metabolism 24/7.
Can childhood obesity be inherited?
You know, there are always genetic predispositions for things. How tall we are, what color our eyes are. You know, there's genetics that really do make a difference. But really, it's the environment that pulls the trigger on the loaded gun, so to speak. So all these environmental influences are really the biggest factor in obesity. You can have the genes. It doesn't mean it's destiny.
Right. So even if your parents are obese, the child has a chance.
Absolutely, absolutely. But, you know, the concept of the parents and the family is very important because it's the parents who role model and teach the kids about healthy eating, about food choices, about eating behaviors, rewarding with food, all kinds of social and psychological issues. So really there's a lot of opportunities there to turn things around.
Okay. Well, thank you, Janice.
You're welcome.
And thanks for joining us at My Weight World TV. I'm Dr. Brenda, MD, and we'll see you next time.